I'd be curious to hear a case study. So you've been helping to advocate for and facilitate veterans to have ayahuasca experience. Obviously, right now, pandemic, that's all complicated. But you managed to bring quite a number of people through this experience. Obviously, it has been going very well for the most part, or else your organization, would have already ended. So. Right. I'm wondering if you could share, the story of somebody who, I mean, obviously there's a degree of privacy that you would want to respect, and I can understand if you don't have any stories to tell. But I'm curious if you have the story of sort of the most significant transformation you saw with one of the people that you brought out, and what it was that helped them, like what it is that they face, and how the ayahuasca experience helped them.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of stories, and from the whole spectrum of people able to come off medication beforehand and being able to stay off medication, which was in some ways ruining their lives. People who had suicidal ideation, who instantly realized sort of the flaw of that and never returning to that to date, and just living happy lives. One of the more poignant stories, because I was there and seeing it and having these experiences one-on-one, helps me revitalize me after the uphill battle that is a nonprofit.
Right.
And so it was one guy, and he was Special Forces, which is kind of commonly known Green Beret in the U.S. And he's like this big, like a large guy, came there. This was in Costa Rica. Just man a few words, and just like a very intimidating presence. And you can tell he's like, what am I doing here? Why am I here? And he had a very long, extensive career doing all sorts of stuff, and went there, and to his credit, went full on, took on the whole ceremony, did everything as they suggested. And over the course of that week, he almost changed. We were joking with him, just he almost turned into a hippie while we're there. And not in a bad way, and he was still the core of himself, and not in any sort of he's super far out there. But he became more of I was talking to my stomach today, and it told me that I should be eating better. And he was just much more connected, and you could see he was just lighter and happier, and just his energy or his personality immediately changed. And he still helps out with the organization to date, and just tells his story. And really, given his background, his resume, so to speak, it really has a lot of weight. And then just in terms of how he changed. And so, months afterwards, we were talking, and he was just telling me this great story where he was back at home with his family, and he has a 10-year-old son. And so his son had only known him in the military. So the son's whole perspective was this military, by the book, straight-laced kind of person. And so then he was just telling me the story of this one morning they're making pancakes, and normally he'd be rushing through it and trying to get the kid to go on the bus to get to school and all this other kind of stuff. And this was the first time that he was laughing with his son and just enjoying it, and not worried about making the bus on time, because it was oh, we'll make another bus, or I'll just drive home, or what have you. And he was just telling him how much he really enjoyed just that moment, and it was just love all around it. And the kid was also what happened to you in the jungle? What happened to this person? But I mean, that's the beauty to me, because healing, just as trauma can be, healing can also be such a cross-generational sort of issue. And it can really change lives multi-generations down the line. And you see that, children of people with PTSD often tend to have some of their own severe issues, and it just kind of gets passed on. And so that's the importance of the work, is it does have this almost exponential effect. Is not only affects the individual, but it can affect the whole family, the community. Who knows, what kind of good work that they might do if they're not burdened by the darkness, or by just whatever is suppressing them. And so those are the stories that, really keep on inspiring the work, because you can kind of see that this is having a much bigger effect than even just the individual.
Mm-hmm.